Good morning, students. So let's continue with our topic, which we were studying. Yes. So identify this picture and name it. Try to recall the picture where you have seen this picture. Yes. Okay. You need to identify this picture and write down its name in the chat box. So today we are going to learn about the modern methods of irrigation. So in this irrigation system, the first one is sprinkler system. So now let's see what is sprinkler system. In this image you can see the water, how it coming out from this pipe, from these pipes, and it is being sprayed to the whole fields. So yes, let's read about the sprinkler system. So this system is more useful and on uneven land where sufficient water is not available. Okay. The second point is the perpendicular pipes having rotating nozzles. These are the perpendicular pipes, you can see that. And here is the rotating nozzle on the top are joined to the main pipeline at a regular intervals, and they are joined to the main pipelines at regular intervals so that when we open the water, it gets sprinkled to all over the plants, to all over the fields. The next point is when water is allowed to flow through the main pipe under pressure with the help of a pump. With the help of a pump, it escapes from the rotating nozzles. Next one is it gets sprinkled on the crop as if it is raining. So when we see that the sprinkler system works when sorry, when it gets sprinkled to all over the field, so it seems like it is raining. Okay, this works like this way. Sprinkler is very useful for sandy soil. You need to remember that this method of irrigation is very useful for sandy soil. Okay. In this picture you can see it is very much evident how the sprinkler system is working, and it really seems like it's raining. Okay, so now let's move further. Okay, here comes the advantages and disadvantages. As we have studied about the sprinkler system, something comes in your mind. There are some disadvantages and advantages as well for anything. So first of all, we will cover the advantages part, then we will cover the disadvantages part. So first part is it is affordable and completely easy to set up. You will not be needing to spend much on the labor cost for setting it up. Okay, so it is affordable. On the other hand, the disadvantage is the cost required for purchasing the equipment for the sprinkler irrigation system is very high. Okay. Now the next, frequent application of water can be supplied to the plants. You will not need to do it yourself. On the other hand, the disadvantages are there is a chance of the nozzles of the sprinklers getting clogged due to the deposit of debris and sediments from water that is used. The next point is the water distribution will always be equal. There will be equal distribution of water. And the next point is the system can be used for other purposes as well as cooling during the high temperature. So the system works when we need a cooling temperature, cooling environment for the crops. Okay. Now the next point is fertilizers and insecticides application can be done by the sprinkler system. So with the help of this sprinkler system, we can do the fertilizers, we can apply the insecticides and weedicides as well. Okay. Now the disadvantages. There is a requirement of continuous power supply for operating the sprinkler irrigation system. So yes, this is a one major disadvantage because we need the power supply for that to sprinkler system to work. Okay, and one more is written here which is get hidden. So now let's see what is that. It is water will drift when there is a lot of wind. Okay, we have seen that when rains happen, water move in such a direction where the wind is flowing. So in this system also, water will drift, it will shift in a direction where the wind is blowing. So it is wind drifted. So now let's move to the next point. Yes, so now I'm having a question for you. So the question is, what are the advantages of sprinkler system? Here I have written the four questions. Four options are there. You need to write down your answer in the chat box. Okay. So kindly write the answers of this question in the chat box. Option 1 is it increases the soil productivity. Option B, it protects the crops from extreme frost or temperature. Option C, it is very useful for sandy soil and uneven land. And option D is all of these. So yes, you are very right. The answer is all of these. Now let's move further. Okay, so now we are having another picture and I want you to identify this picture and name it. So you can write down the name of this picture in the chat box and I'll look from there, okay? Okay, so now let's see. So modern method of irrigation and that was drip irrigation. Now let's see how drip irrigation works. In this system, water falls drop by drop just at the position of the roots. Okay, so in drip system, what happens is that when we like start the watering plants, what happens? Water just falls drop by drop at the position of the root. Suppose, like in this picture, you can see here that there are plants at certain places, and at that point of place, there are the pipes. Okay, so what happens when we start watering? The water will fall at the root of the plant so that the water will not get waste. Okay. So it is called the drip system. Now the next point. It is the best technique for watering fruit plants, gardens and trees. The system provides water to plants drop by drop. Water is not wasted at all. So this is the advantages of this system, that water does not get wasted. It is a boon in a region where availability of water is very poor. And you can see this image also for the better clarification. Now let's move to the next point. Okay, so here I'm having another question for you. I want you to differentiate between sprinkler system and drip irrigation. Okay, so you can write down your answers in the chat box and I'll look it from there. Yes. So here I have written some of the differences for you. So now let's read one by one. First, I'll read the sprinkler system. So sprinkler irrigation is a process in which a nozzle is attached in the pipe to spread it. Okay, a nozzle is attached. The second point is the spray guns rotate in circles and wet a large circular area and not only a small desired area. Okay. Third point is every part of plant receives water. In sprinkler systems, every part of plant receives water as it gets sprinkles like a rain. The next point is evaporative loss of water is high in this system. Of course, evaporation will be very high. Now in drip system, what happens? Drip irrigation is a process in which the distributing pipe has holes to supply water. Okay. It delivers water drop by drop. Remember that. Directly to the soil at the desired place and to the desired plant root. Only the root area of plant is wetted. Loss of water is minimized. So in this drip system, no loss of water is there. So this is the basically good advantages of this drip system. I hope you have understand. Now there is another question for you. The question is, which of the following systems supply water directly to the roots without wastage? Here I am having some of the options. So four options are there. The first one is sprinkler system, second is drip irrigation, third is more, and D all of the above. So now You can write down your answers in the chat box. Yes, you are right. So right answer is drip system. As we know that in this system, water falls drop by drop at the root of the plant. Now let's move further. Okay, so there were two friends, Paheli and Bujo. Bujo and Paheli went to a nearby wheat field and saw that there were some other plants in the field. Okay. Now Bujo asked a question. Have these other plants been planted purposely? What do you think? You may also have seen like in your gardens when you planted a vegetable crop or like flowers. Okay. Some other plants also grow nearby your plants. So what do you think? What are that plants? What are these plants? Have you planted these plants or they have grown by their own? So I want you to know that how these plants have been grown. And what are these plants known as? So you can write down your answers in the chat box. So yes, how these plants have grown? These plants have grown by their own and these plants are known as weeds. Okay, so next we are going to learn about weeds. Now see, identify the weeds. In this picture, identify the weeds. Which plants are weeds? Yes. So these plants, these grasses, you can see here these one. Okay. So these are called weeds and this is the main plant. So around the plants there are some other plants which grow by themselves and these are called weeds. So how can we define weeds? Basically weeds are unwanted plants. They are undesirable plants. We don't want them to grow but they grow themselves. So now let's move further. So let's see how can we protect our plants, our crops from weeds. Okay. So let's see what is written here. The undesirable plants may grow naturally along with the crop. Okay. These undesirable plants are called weeds. So yes, these undesirable plants are called weeds and how can we control them? So let's see how can we control the weeds, okay, from growing along with the plants and what they do. So yes, weeds are also controlled by using certain chemicals called weedicides. So there are some chemicals which are used to control the weeds, okay, so that they don't harm our other crops which are required for us. So examples of weedicides are 2,4-D, okay, and these are sprayed in the fields to kill the weeds. They do not damage the crop, okay. So weedicides, these chemicals do not damage the crop, they just kill the weeds, okay. And the removal of weed is called weeding. Sometimes weeds can be removed manually also. We have seen like some farmers or sometimes you people also when you like planted flower or your vegetable crop, sometimes the other grasses we call it, sometimes call it grasses or some other plants which we grow around the plant, we try to like remove it with our hands. So when we remove these weeds with our hands, these are called manually removing the weeds and removing of weed is called weeding. Okay. So in this image you can see that this man is spraying weedicides. Okay. So he is spraying weedicides to kill the weeds. And you can see also he has covered his face. So why he has covered his face? So while like spraying the chemicals to the field, we used to cover our face with a cotton cloth or with a mask like we are wearing nowadays. So we are doing this so that we don't get any damage to ourselves, our body. We are getting protected by using this handkerchief or like cotton cloth by covering our face because these chemicals can harm ourselves also. So that is why we need to like cover the face while spraying the chemicals like insecticide, pesticides and weedicides. Okay, I hope you have understood. So now let's move. Yes, so there are some points mentioned here. So let's read out the first point. Spraying of weedicides may affect the health of farmers, so they should use these chemicals very carefully. Okay. The next point is they should cover their nose and mouth with a piece of cloth during spraying of these chemicals, as I have already explained why they need to cover their mouth and nose. So now let's move further. Okay, so this is the question time. So I want you to tell me what are beads. Tell me, or you can define beads. Yes, you can write down your answers in the chat box also. So yes, weeds are undesirable or unwanted plants. Very good. The next question is MCQ type. The removal of weeds is called dash. The options are A. Weedicide, B. Pesticide, C. Weeding, and D. Fertilizers. So tell me the answer, or otherwise you can also write your answers in the chat box. Yes, you are right. Answer is A. The removal of weeds is called weedicide. Removal of weeds is called weeding. Okay, weedicides is a chemical which is being used there. Weedicide is not the process of removal of weeds. So at that time I was wrong. Okay, so the right answer is weeding. Now let's move. So yes, now comes the recapitulation part. So students, today we have learnt about two modern methods of irrigation, and that was sprinkler system and drip irrigation. And also we have studied what are weeds and how can we protect our plant from weeds. Okay. So I have few questions for you. The question one is, name the two modern methods of irrigation that help us to use water economically. So you need to write the two modern methods of irrigation. Okay, write down your answer in the chat box. Okay, so first one is drip irrigation. Okay, now second one you need to write down. The next question is the removal of weeds is called, it is called weeding. Let me write the answer here. The removal of weed is called weeding. Weing. Okay. The question third is sprinkler method is a traditional method of irrigation. Is it true or false? Write down your answer in the chat box. So yes, it is false because sprinkler method is a modern method of irrigation. Very good. Now let's move further. Okay, students. So here comes your question, your homework part. So I have three questions for your homework. So question one is, write a short note in your own words on any one modern irrigation method and paste its picture in a notebook. Okay. You have to paste a picture of irrigation, modern irrigation method, and you need to write a short note on your own words. The question second is, unwanted plants in the field are controlled by. Here are the options: pesticide, manure, fertilizer, and weeds. Okay, so you need to write the correct answer and you need to fill this blank. The third is true false type. Rotating nozzles are used in dripping method. Is it true or false? So you need to write down your answer in your notebooks. So I hope it's clear for you. So thank you very much. That's all for today's class.